Growing up in the early 2000s, my family got a Dell computer for me and my siblings to share. And as a kid, I was quickly able to get into the world of early to late 2000s internet and enjoyed watching and playing flash games and animations. I didn't own a PlayStation 2 or any other console yet, so the internet was kind of a gateway for free entertainment for me, even if I had to wait for half an hour just to watch Madness Combat 3. But with Flash dead in the internet, I reminisce of the Flash animations and games that I grew up with. Thankfully, a lot were already saved thanks to Blue Maxima's Flashpoint, and in this video I wanted to focus on a Flash series that I closely grew up with called Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao, literally called Small twice in English, is a Stickman Flash series made by graphic designer and animator Xiao, and has been animating the series between 2000 to 2002. But after 9 entries and a couple ads, Yu kinda just stopped animating, which is a shame because he is actually responsible for influencing many animators and becoming the stepping stone to Stickman animations. So I want to take you on a trip on memory lane as I mindlessly talk about the entire Xiao Xiao series and also look at what the creator has been up to after his final entry on the series.
Ready, steady, go!
In 2001, April 19, Xiao Xiao 1 is released on Newgrounds. It was a simple fight between two stickmen until another jumps in to fight the winner. It wouldn't be a massive hit that would influence many stickman animators yet, but you can see the building blocks that led to Xiu's animation style and also become the blueprint of many stickman animations later on. It garnered up to 3 million views in Newgrounds, which is impressive from the time of its release. One key feature in Xiao Xiao and Xiu's animation style is the influence from Hong Kong action films with its seamless choreography and campy humor. It's funny how one of the stickmen gets hit with every weapon possible and still lives, and another gets their arm ripped off and then grows it back like frames later. Like, who cares about inconsistency when you got some kick-ass fighting animation? Surprisingly, as I look into the comments, apparently Xiao Xiao 1 is a re-upload and that the Xiu author in Newgrounds isn't the actual creator, but someone who re-uploaded the Xiao Xiao file to Newgrounds. Looking back into the Wayback Machine, you can see him explain that he got the original AVI file from betablue.net and re-uploaded it. He even states how guilty he felt from the popularity of his re-upload, and so he made sure in the comments to inform other users that he is not the original creator. The actual author, however, has uploaded the file in his now defunct site, xiaoxiao.com, but in the Wayback Machine you can still download the first Xiao Xiao in its original AVI file. So if you want to download a piece of history, you can still do if you want. Its sequel, Xiao Xiao 2, released in May 2001, is a simple flash game where all you have to do is press the spacebar on the right time to win. You can get different animations depending on the position of the bar, but you can view all of them in a gallery at the main menu. This flash also introduces to the mob boss character, a purple stickman becoming the main villain on every Xiao Xiao entry. He doesn't actually have a name, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to be calling him the mob boss. Also, the name Xiao Xiao became more associated with the character himself, the nameless black stickman. I'll also be calling him Xiao Xiao as well for the sake of this video. One thing that Xiu often does is creating both flash animations and games to the series, so if you were following Xiao Xiao around 2000 to 2002, there was always something new to enjoy. Now obviously if I'm covering Xiao Xiao, I wouldn't leave out the biggest entry into the series, one that spawns inspiration to many stickman animations over the course of the early internet. Xiao Xiao 3 is just... a flurry of action with grunts mobbing, elites blocking, and bosses kicking. This was everything a kung fu action film can be in a span of around 2 minutes. Xiao Xiao jumps into a black and white building and fights dozens of grunts, then against 2 elites, and finally the mob boss as they have a one-on-one finale. At the end, Yu pays homage to the Matrix with a sick 3D slow-mo shot. This is also another key feature in Xiao Xiao as it takes a lot of inspiration from the Matrix. Watching this as a kid, I instantly just went ape mode, just thinking, why is this so cool? I don't even know what's going on. This was actually my first Stickman Flash that I watched as far as I can remember, and I didn't watch it on Newgrounds but in stickpage.com instead, which if anyone remembers Stickpage, you know it was the site for everything Stickman related Flash. The site's still alive, but most of the games and animations are broken. Xiao Xiao 3 is definitely the pinnacle of stickman animation, and would become an inspiration to many stickman animations later, with some making tributes to it, which I will discuss later. And though I didn't watch Xiao Xiao 3 at its release, but instead a few years later, it became a major source of reference for me when discussing good action scenes later on. I mean, still, the animation is better than some of the action scenes big Hollywood films can make. Xiao Xiao 4 returns as a flash game where you control Xiao Xiao through a virtual cop arcade shooter according to the game description. You shoot through mobs with various attacks until you confront the mob boss, which you don't actually fight. Instead, you are rewarded with a fight animation that recreates one of the most infamous shots in the Matrix trilogy. It's not that hard to beat because you can just revive yourself by pressing space once you lose your lives, so there really isn't any way to lose unless you got bored and quit the game before finishing. Nothing more to say, but playing through the Flash games felt more like an interactive animation museum than an actual game. People on the internet wouldn't see another Xiao Xiao until January 5th, 2002 as an animation. The animation takes place in a random park, with Xiao Xiao and the mob boss fighting until they die, and fight as ghosts. They continue to fight until their bodies were taken away by an ambulance, which they stop and go after it. It has a more campy and comedic feeling but with action integrated, again showing the inspiration from Hong Kong action films. It's a shame though, you don't really see a lot of action comedy films these days. Released on January 29, 2002, Xiao Xiao 6 started with a cute little animation of the title letters before Xiao Xiao slowly walks across the screen. As another Flash game, you have to mash the spacebar through a couple of action scenes to win, except for one scene where you have to squish the mob boss by clicking on the levers below. It's not hard, but you do have to time it well to trap the mob boss. Again, nothing much to say other than you can cheese the game by holding space, so there really isn't any incentive to play unless you want to see another cool 3D slow motion shot at the end of the game. Xiao Xiao 7, however, is different from the previous entries because though they are one-offs, 7 actually has a plot. The first part, uploaded in January 2002 named Mutilator, starts off with Xiao Xiao scouting out the mob boss's building and finding him, before sneaking in and silently taking out his grunts. Once Xiao Xiao is close to the mob boss, he prepares to jump in guns blazing, but another one of the mob boss's goons catches him in surprise. Xiao Xiao opens fire, which alerts the rest of the grunts to fire towards the window. Then, after a moment's silence, Xiao Xiao bursts through the window and fires upon the grunts. Then the shootout begins as more grunts close in and attempt to kill Xiao Xiao, but fail to do so. Once all the grunts are killed, Xiao Xiao runs towards a room where he is confronted by the mob boss and his guards. If you're a fan of Hong Kong films, then you can see the influence of John Woo films, famous for his direction on shootout action films. What I like about this action scene compared to the other entries is just how clean the shootout scene is. Instead of bullets randomly hitting everywhere, they follow the hero, which makes it easier for the audience to follow the action. And how each cut spliced in with the gunfire audio makes the action really seamless without breaking continuity. Unlike the previous Xiao Xiao entries, you can see how skilled Yu is in directing an action scene. Xiao Xiao 8 and the second part of Mutilator follows straight after the previous entry with the mob boss's guards about to shoot Xiao Xiao. In slow motion, Xiao Xiao quickly dodges the incoming bullets and fire back, killing the guards in seconds. Afterwards, the mob boss flees, gets into a car and drives off. Xiao Xiao follows him behind on a motorcycle shortly after. As they chase each other on the road, the mob boss calls one of his grunts to stop Xiao Xiao. The grunt drives his van towards Xiao Xiao and runs him over. Unsurprisingly, he lives and kills the van driver. The mob boss drives away, but Xiao Xiao was able to get on the roof of the car. However, he is thrown off as the car suddenly stops and is left behind. With no transport nearby, Xiao Xiao tries to hitch a ride, but no one stops for him. There is no continuation. Really disappointing if you were following the series and waited for months for a sequel. Little me wouldn't know that there was no sequel because TechPage doesn't post the date of its release, and I didn't realize that I was watching an animation that was a year old. And considering that each Xiao Xiao releases between a couple months, it was likely the case that there won't be a sequel or finale. I'm not gonna lie, this is personally my favorite entry in the series. Much as I enjoyed the chaotic nature of Xiao Xiao 3, I really liked the film direction from 7 and 8. And if Zhu continued animating to this day, he probably would be making cinematic stickman films. Lastly, in October 2002, Zhu would release his final entry to the Xiao Xiao series with Xiao Xiao 9. Though it was not Mutilator 3, it is a beat-em-up flash game where you smack down grunts before facing off the mob boss once again. You have a simple combo, jumping kicks and throws in two different directions, one in front of you and one behind you. Your most powerful move is a spinning kick that knocks down any enemies in range at the cost of some of your health. This is similar to Streets of Rage with a similar mechanic. The game was fun at the time, but playing it now you can see how janky it is. Enemies get stuck on the edges of the screen and a number of background drops, attack ranges are pitiful, and the hitboxes are really... Not only that, the enemies will instantly attack you the moment you are in range, which means that if you're surrounded, you can easily get stun locked. The mob boss is quite difficult. He has more moves and can grab you for high damage, and when I said that enemies will attack you the moment you are in range, then the mob boss will instantly grab you once you are in range. Fighting the mob boss head on is ill-advised, and according to this comment, you need to fake him out and counter him. In my playthrough, however, I did the long and tedious method. But hey, it's free, so I didn't complain much and enjoyed spending my school afternoon on a busted game. Even though Xiao Xiao is finished, Zhu actually made some ads after 2002 with his animation style. One is a two-part ad for a beer commercial called Heineken where Xiao Xiao is enjoying a bottle before a bunch of people start fighting him for it. It ends with him hilariously flying like a Superman to the top of a large Heineken bottle. This ad was part of a Heineken x Matrix collab during 2003, promoting both the beer and the film Matrix Reloaded, which the film was released in 15 May 2003. The other ad was for a mall called City Plaza, which is a recreation of Xiao Xiao 3, where the protagonist fights a bunch of other stickmen at the promoted mall. You can even see the old Xiao Xiao 3 on the television, which kinda looks like a secret ad for Zhu's work instead. What's surprising is that this is the first Xiao Xiao to not have our usual protagonist, and instead there is a nameless red stickman, which I don't really know why. Xiao Xiao appears in the Matrix, but not in this one. This ad, however, has my favorite 3D slow motion shot made by Zhu, mostly because of the chunky audio and the transition from the fight to the ad. I just find it cool and funny. And that covers every Xiao Xiao Flash entry. I have to admit, I didn't know that Zhu was uploading Xiao Xiao Flash content since 2000 in his own website, and the user from Newgrounds was re-uploading them, which is a bit of an info that was almost lost. Still, thanks to the re-uploads, people outside of China can watch and play some of the coolest Flash animations in games at the time. Now you may be wondering what happened to Zhu after animating his last Xiao Xiao. Well, there really isn't much information about him. I found a Twitter account that has his full name, Zhu Zhiqian, but can't really verify him because the only tweets and retweets he made is from general news and nothing related to animation nor Xiao Xiao. Hell, I don't even know if the profile pic is him because the only other photo of Zhu is from Fandom Wiki about him, which... If that is Zhu in a dress and a wig in crusty quality, I don't really know if it's him at all. What I did find though is that Zhu got into a bizarre legal battle and sued Nike for copyright infringement. Yes, the sports brand. Before I get into this case, the articles that I will mention refer to the stickman as the logo, and to be clear, what they mean by the logo is the stickman character itself. In July 2004, Zhu filed a lawsuit against Nike and its Chinese subsidiary, Zushou, over copyright infringement on his stickman Xiao Xiao with a logo Nike made without his permission. and demanded 2 million yuan and an apology. For anyone that don't remember or seen the Nike Stickman ads, Nike was creating a promotional Stickman made by the advertisement company Wieden & Kennedy in 2002. In a couple ads, the Stickman plays the role of a random person challenging famous sports players such as Ronaldinho and LeBron James. According to an article in ChinaDaily.com updated in July 16, 2004, Nike's lawyer Zhang Xiaoping denies the charge and argued that the small man figure created by the plaintiff and his gestures are absolutely different from Nike's Stickman. Zhu explained that he was negotiating with a publisher to release a book about the Stickman logo, and negotiations stopped because Nike released their ads last year. Zhang argues that their Stickman was designed separately and is under Nike's copyright. He later accuses Zhu for pulling a stunt on a large company to promote himself and his flashworks. Zhu of course denies and explains that why would he need to pull a stunt if he already is well recognized by the young people on the internet. Instead, he accuses Nike for the logo to boost their popularity amongst younger audiences because according to him, this is because my logo and works are well known in that group. He explains that he's one of the first people in China to use Flash and that his Flashworks are well loved by the netizens and receives more than 30,000 letters from them since 2000. He also stated that he started using the small Stickman in 1989 when he was a student, which I realized that he's explaining every kid's experience with drawing stick figures in school. But I guess to him, it was a unique and original concept. Zhang, however, says that Zhu's Stickman lacks originality and cannot be copyrighted because the law refers to independent design and it does not protect those who copy other works and images from the public domain. From mural and stone paintings in ancient times to Sherlock Holmes stories, the logo has been used repeatedly, Zhang said. In the end, Nike lost the case for failing to appeal, and the Beijing court ordered Nike to pay 300,000 yuan, which is around 36,000 USD in 2004, and apologized to Zhu. Zhu, satisfied, states, "I got what I wanted most. Confirmation of copyright over the character." Not gonna lie, this case is pretty funny because yes, Zhu is one of the first people to animate a Stickman using Flash in China, but the fact that he believes he concepted the idea of Stickman and the fact that he made it when he was a student is even funnier. Remember, Zhu is suing Nike over the idea of the Stickman and not the expression. If it was the expression, then Nike could possibly win since the two Stickmen are completely different characters. What's interesting is that the reason for the court's ruling is mentioned in two articles, one in Adland.tv in 2004 and China.org.cn with no published date. They both quote the court saying, prior to the completion of Zhu's character in 2000, there were no such artistic works in China, so the character was original and should be protected by Chinese laws, which explains why Zhu won. However, according to an article on China Economic Net, Beijing's #1 Intermediate People's Court made the final verdict that Nike did not plagiarize Zhu's Stickman, and Zhu would have to pay more than 40,000 yuan, which is 5,000 USD in court fees. Nike obviously states how happy they are, and Zhu refuses to comment. Now I can't really confirm this is true because this is the only article that I found that mentions the final verdict, whereas the rest say that Zhu won and Nike having to pay, so don't take this as evidential. Still, the entire case is quite ridiculous, but interesting because it also gives us a bit of info about how Zhu views his own work. Other than the case, there really isn't much more information about him. Zhu never made any more Xiao Xiao or any animation at all from the case onwards. I could say it's a shame, but at this point many more animators have joined the Stickman Flash animation scene and many would outperform Zhu in terms of technical skill and creativity. And if Zhu doesn't really want to animate, then that's okay. I think it's safe to say that Xiao Xiao is definitely one of the biggest influences to Stickman animation. Though Zhu himself didn't invent the Stickman as he claimed, he did however pioneered how Stickmen are animated on the internet. Having a bunch of people fight on a blank space with nothing but good choreography with inspiration from action films is enough to entertain and inspire other people on the internet, me included. Not only that, it's free too. After watching Saturday cartoons or coming back from school, I would endlessly browse the internet for Flash-related animations and keep myself entertained when buying a PS2 and a couple games was too expensive at the time. Even if I had to wait for hours for the animations to load, I was okay with that because I didn't have to pay at all. You can see the influence Xiao Xiao has made on other animations whether it's intentional or not. Some even making tributes to Xiao Xiao's 3 such as Ninja Action, Top Stick, and the Xiao Tribute Joint. I even found an animation that pretends to be Xiao Xiao 10, but you can tell the author doesn't really understand 3D slow motion shots. Nowadays, Stickman animation is bigger than ever with animators adding more complex stories and creating their own animation styles. But it is nice how things have come so far from the humble beginnings of Stickman animations. Xiao Xiao really is peak Stickman animation. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the really terrible audio quality. It's been a while since I recorded my voice and I realize how easily out of breath I get and how much I keep clicking my tongue, so I'm trying to get better over time. I'm also planning for another Flash related video and other unrelated Flash videos like manga and Skyrim Quest mods, so if you're keen on that you can subscribe if you want. Also, I do have social media where I post art if you want to check them out. And yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.